certain animals.
Where is it? I said, where is it?
Where's what? Who the heck are you and why are you in my house?
Where's the pill?
What pill? Get out of my
Wait,
house.
what is this?
Abnormally. Now I wrote abnormally in dream.
It's just some dumb podcast I found. And again, who the heck are you?
It's not just some podcast, you blabbering buffoon. It's...
And welcome to Is There a Black Pill? The podcast where we investigate and discuss the esoteric dreams, the visions, the angels and the demons, and other entities that I've personally encountered. Speaking of I'm your host, no Sam Nodge, but I guess the three of you listening might know me as John Mason. But anyway, the point is, I am grateful for all of the listeners, regardless of the size of the listeners. I'm thankful for all of you, all of the feedback you've given me, all of the ears you've given me, and the open-mindedness you've given me as well. So, thank you. It means quite a lot, and it inspires me to continue making episodes, to continue creating things, even though we all have our struggles, right? So thank you. But before I get into the episode 4, well, finally, it's been so long, but before I get into the actual episode, I have to ask you all a very important question, and that question is, do you believe we are alone? And no, I'm not asking if you think we're single, the point is, I'm referring to aliens, extraterrestrials, life out there, ETs or whatever. Do you believe we're alone? And for those of you who say no, the next question I would ask you is, do you believe space is infinitely expanding, as they say? I mean, if it is, it would be bold to assume that there's nothing that doesn't exist, right? But wait, first of all, how do they even... Hold on. That is an interesting question, actually. How do they know space is infinitely expanding? Like, it's one thing to say something is infinite, right? But to say it's infinitely expanding, like actively expanding, infinitely, how do they know that? Like a balloon, right? What if a balloon took 10,000 years to blow up, right? No human lives for 10,000 years according to what we know, at least. Or at least what we're told. So, to those humans, that balloon would be infinitely expanding. But at the end of the 10,000 year cycle, it pops. How do they know it's infinitely expanding? Is it a theory? I actually don't know. I could look it up, but I'll leave that up to you guys to do. I actually can't look it up right now without... Anyway, the point is, if you believe the... What was the point again? Why does this happen? It's just how my mind is. I'm not gonna complain. I love my mind. It's all over the place sometimes. Okay. Infinitely expanding space aliens. Right. If you believe that space is infinitely expanding, it is quite bold to assume that aliens do not exist. Now, here's a wild thing. This is getting so off topic already. It's insane. This is nothing to do with what I... Okay. If space is infinitely expanding, what does that mean? It means that it doesn't end. It goes on forever, right? All possibilities are within infinity. There's nothing that cannot happen within infinity. Unless it's an infinite sequence of the exact same things. This is getting a bit complicated. You could have an infinite space filled with only ones, and you could have another infinite space filled with only A's, right? Like the letter A and the number 1. But you could also have an infinite space filled with all numbers and all letters. So I guess you could have an infinite space filled with things that do not exist within that space. Oh man, this is getting complicated. Okay, maybe that's a sign I should get back on topic, because it's been... Alright, so let's just put a pin in that for now and move on. A few weeks ago, I had the pleasure, in quotations, of meeting what I would call an alien or extraterrestrial or whatever. I mean, it looked exactly, well, not exactly, but mostly like what people describe their encounters to look like. It was so wild, and there's a few... I guess before I even go into that, I have to give you some perspective, because there's something underlying that is traumatic to me that I need to discuss before you can fully grasp this situation or this experience. And if I have to do that, we might have to flash back to 2021. So let's get straight into this. The date is 19th of January 2021. At the time, we were all going through COVID-19, and at this time it's still a thing, but not nearly as influential in our lifestyles, I would say. So we had a lot of stay-at-home schooling and all of those things, so I had my online classes. Now I'm in university, and you know Zoom, we all know it now. Do people still use that anyway? I guess they do, but anyway, getting sidetracked. After my classes, I went to sleep. I usually take cat naps whenever I can, and it's because I love dreaming. It's my favorite thing to do. But I also seem to always drain my energy when I have to interact with people a lot, even online apparently. So I would sleep a lot. This particular day, now my cat naps usually last 4 to 6 hours, maybe a bit longer, a bit less sometimes, but 4 to 6 hours is the sweet spot. This particular day, it only lasted about 1 hour before I woke up, and well, I assume it's about an hour, but I don't know how long the experience after took. But anyway, I don't remember the dream that I had during this cat nap, but I remember everything that happened after it. And this is the traumatic part. And I know traumatic is a very strong word, especially coming from me, someone who's experienced things that people consider terrifying, like waking up in a pile of corpses that have no skin on them and blood and guts everywhere. Wait, should I have put a warning before I said that? I guess it's fine. If you're listening to this podcast, you already know what you're in for. But anyway, I guess warning for that last part. Anyway, the point is, I'm not the type of person who gets scared anymore. Easily, at least. But this was a different type of scary. It wasn't something terrifying like a spider monster or anything like that. When I woke up, I was no longer on my bed. Instead, I was in... Now, first of all, I was in a semi-comatose state. Like, you know, when you wake up, you're kind of out of it for a bit, trying to figure out stuff. Like, was I dreaming? Was I not dreaming? I was in that state, right? But I wasn't on my bed, which was very confusing. And it took a few seconds for me to realize I was walking. My body was walking around in circles. And it was kind of like I was in a trance, I would say. Because I was making almost these perfect circles from what I can tell, at least. And I know my perspective may have been flawed a bit because of having just woken up, but just bear with me. So I was walking around in circles, and as if that wasn't weird enough, I was also talking to someone. And I don't mean I, as in me who's speaking to you now. I mean my body was speaking to someone. And I was trying to listen to what they were saying. The other voice, right? I forgot to describe that. So the other voice in my head or wherever, it felt as though it was somewhat in my head, but also not in my head. I can tell when I think to myself and I talk to myself in my mind, right? We all do it. Don't call me crazy. You know you talk to yourself. But when you hear your mind, when you hear your voice in your head, you can tell it's in your head, right? Or at least you know the feeling that we assume is what being in the head feels like, if that makes sense. We associate that sound, that feeling, with speaking to our own selves in our mind. This was a bit different. It felt odd, but the voice itself was extremely deep. And it was far deeper than I could muster. Like, I can't speak that deeply. I can speak pretty deeply if I have to, but I don't think it's possible to speak that deeply, naturally. And it was speaking quite calmly, and yeah. So I tried to listen into what they were saying. Well, I say they as if my body isn't me, but at the time it definitely wasn't. So I tried to listen to what they were saying, but I couldn't really put it together. I mean, I had just woken up, right? And I was stunned. I was walking around in circles, so I didn't blame myself. But what I did hear, clearly at least, was the last thing they said to each other. The voice on the other end, I would call it, the deeper voice, said something like, "You can call me to talk to me." No, "You can call to me again to talk to me next time." Next time, as though this wasn't, it felt as though the way he said it, this wasn't the first time, but he usually called to my body, I suppose. I say he because the voice was really deep. It sounded like masculine, so it felt as though this was a common thing. And then my body said okay, or alright, or basically okay, and it literally stopped walking in a circle, walked to the edge of my bed, sat there, and that was it. I was back in control of my body, and I was like, what? What just happened? What the heck? Like, I was freaking out. Imagine you wake up. Now, okay, we all know what sleepwalking is, right? I would assume you know what sleepwalking is. Sleepwalking is essentially where, for those of you who don't know, you're asleep and your body is in control. It's kind of like muscle memory, I suppose. So you walk around the house, you might go to the fridge, open it, and whatnot. I have never suffered from that, at least from my knowledge. And when I was younger, there was a period of time where I was too afraid. I used to have spiritual experiences since I was a kid. Like, I would see demons and I would see all of these things and get terrified, and I couldn't sleep alone. I would walk upstairs. There were a few times when I would get home with my parents late at night and my brother, and I walked up the stairs and saw things and ran back down and told them. Like, I remember vividly those moments. I was like, if my dad was still living with us, I was probably about 6 or 7. So I remember those days, those nights, those days perfectly. There was this one time I walked upstairs by myself. I wasn't afraid of the dark before, right? So I walked upstairs by myself and I saw this person sitting on the couch. I still remember the person too. They didn't have a proper face or anything, but it felt more like a shadowy figure, I would say. They were sitting on the couch, more like lying on the couch, but in a posture that was sort of like sitting. And no one else was living there. So I ran downstairs and told them somebody was on the couch. And they took me seriously. They went upstairs and checked. No one was in the house. So the next best thing was I saw something that wasn't physical, right? Like a ghost or demon or whatever you want to call them. Wait, do demons call themselves demons? Like, do they say, we are demons? Who gave them the word? Who gave them the name demon? Did God name them demons? Because if you look up the meaning of demon, you will see them, right? But why would he name them demon? Like, if you look up the meaning of the word bird, you would see a picture of a bird. But who comes up with... Anyway, I'm getting... Wow, okay. Okay, give me 1 second. I got really sidetracked for a second there. Hopefully you guys don't... I guess you wouldn't mind. I'm not gonna apologize for that anymore because it's just who I am, and at this point, if you're friends with me or you listen to my podcast or whatever, you're accustomed to it, so... Okay, I was talking about the... Right. Let's just go back to the experience. So, I'm sitting on the edge of my bed, and the first thing I think is, was I dreaming this? The answer I immediately said to myself was no, because I felt every moment. I felt walking back to my bed. I felt the pressure of sitting on my bed, and I am in the exact spot where I sat down. I felt all of it. I just wasn't in control. The voice was definitely real. The deepness of the voice was lasting on me. There's no way it was just a dream, I would say. So, we know what sleepwalking is. We know what sleep paralysis is, right? I'm gonna just describe it anyway. Sleep paralysis is when you're sleeping and then you can't... Well, I guess you're awake, actually? Wait a minute, hold on. Why do they call it sleep paralysis if you're awake? Like, sleepwalking is when you're sleeping. So why do they call it sleep paralysis if you're awake? I guess because you just woke up, but anyway. The point is, sleep paralysis is basically when you wake up and you can't move your body. Now, people have different explanations for why this happens. A lot of times during sleep paralysis, you might see different entities, different beings, different things watching you or approaching you, or they might harm you in some cases, and you would wake up with the scars, right? So, sleep paralysis and sleepwalking were the first things on my mind when I thought of this more. Not in the moment, later on, I mean. It felt as though it was sort of like a merge of the both of them. It wasn't quite sleep paralysis because I was moving. I wasn't in control of my body, but I was moving. And it wasn't quite sleepwalking, even though I was walking. Well, I suppose at some point it was sleepwalking because I woke up in the action of walking, which means I was sleepwalking. Which is, again, something... That's why I brought that up earlier. Oh, right. So I used to be afraid of sleeping alone because of experiences like the thing that happened that night and many other nights. I had a moment in my life where for a couple of months I just had constant sleep paralysis almost every night, if not every night, and I would see different beings and interact with them, or they would interact with me. I couldn't even move. I was terrified, and I just couldn't sleep alone. So I would ask my brother to sleep in my room or sleep with a lamp on and stuff like that, you know. I would sleep with my door open, which actually freaks me out more now. So I sleep with my door closed and I sleep with a dim light. I got accustomed to the experiences, you could say. So it's very hard to trigger me or scare me or anything like that now. Which is why it's even more serious to me that this one situation, this one experience was scarier to me. Because I've had this paranoia for years now that we are all not really who we think we are. And for all we know, this is an illusion. Like, we're just renting a body and none of this is real. I had a paranoia like that. Later on, finding out it's an actual theory. And it ties into the Matrix and all of that as well. And it didn't help my paranoia, but it more so helped me understand that I wasn't alone and I wasn't crazy or anything. It's an actual theory. And I don't mean like a conspiracy theory. It's a general theory amongst different scientists and philosophers, etc. So anyway, The reason I brought up not being able to sleep alone is that I think if I was prone to sleepwalking for my entire life, someone would have noticed. Either I would have walked outside and woken someone up, or because I had a bedtime at 9 p.m., my parents or my uncle or whatever would have noticed me walking outside sleeping. I mean, there was that one time I went to sleep and I woke up and I saw it was dark, so I was like, okay, time to get ready for school because it's morning. So I shower and all of that, and I put on my uniform, and I walk outside, and my mom and uncle are just sitting on the couch, and they're like, "What are you doing here in school clothes?" I was like, "I'm getting ready for school. Why aren't you guys getting ready?" And it turns out it was 6 p.m., not 6 a.m. Or it was like 7 p.m., not 7 a.m., and I got ready for nothing. So I mean, that's the closest thing to something weird happening around sleep time or whatever. But anyway, uh, so I'm not prone to sleepwalking from my knowledge and my family's knowledge, at least from what they know at least. So, where did this come from? When did it start? Now, I sleep on the bed and I sleep on the floor sometimes. I sort of interchange between the two. Sometimes I feel more comfortable on the floor, most times now. And sometimes I feel more comfortable on the bed, so I would interchange. This time again, I was sleeping on the bed, and the body knew to put me back on the bed. So it's odd. And then there's the whole thing with call to me next time if you want to talk or whatever it said. The deep voice. The way it said it was again as though this is a thing that happens either regularly or it happened a few times before. And how is my body going to call to this being or whatever it is to talk to it? Again, I wasn't conscious of this happening. Is it my subconscious? Maybe it is my subconscious that is communicating with whatever this being is. But what is the being? And what were they talking about? Interesting. But I'm saying interesting as if it's for me to talk. I guess it is me talking to myself. That is what a podcast is right now, at least. I don't have any guests at the moment. But I guess I am talking to myself when I do this. I don't know why I have the illusion of talking to other people. It's just me talking to myself. You're just listening to some random person speaking to themselves. Isn't that telling of how the times are today? Like it's normal to talk to yourself now. In fact, you get paid for it depending on how successful you get. It's interesting. But anyway, the reason I brought this up is to give you some foresight on what happened recently. So I'm going to get into that now. So the 6th of the 8th, 2022. I believe that was last month. Yeah, it was. I just checked the date. So I remember going to sleep alone with my door locked as usual. So when I woke up, and this time I was sleeping on the floor, I would usually spread like a mattress. Not a mattress, a blanket. Spread a mattress. Spread a blanket and put a pillow and sheets and whatnot and just sleep on the floor. I woke up. I have no idea what time it was when I woke up. I should have taken note. But the first thing I see when I open my eyes is eyes staring back at me. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. Except this time I was quite annoyed, like I was irritated, pissed off even. Because this being was so close to me, and I like personal space. I don't even like people touching me, generally speaking. Like, I dislike it, I would even say. And I think it has to do with I'm more prone to feeling things from my senses, I suppose, is what I would say. If you know what I mean. So I just don't like people touching me. I don't like wearing people's clothes. There was this one time I was by my friend's place. We were playing Magic the Gathering, which is this card game I like playing. I like playing strategy games. And I was freezing. I get cold very quickly. Even in hot sun and all of that, I would wear hoodies and jackets and all that because I get cold very quickly. And I was freezing. I had a jacket on and I was still freezing. They had AC in the place, air conditioning that is, and I was visibly shaking while playing. So one of my friends offered to lend me his jacket and I said no thanks, but I appreciate it. And he kept asking, out of being nice, but I kept trying to be nice and saying no. And he asked me why I didn't want to use it, and I didn't want to be offensive. Because I know for a fact if I say because it's not my own, it's someone else's own, they might take it the wrong way. I didn't know how to put it. Usually I would just be blunt. But I've learned over the past 2 or 3 years that sometimes being blunt isn't necessarily the best move. Although I know I'm still insensitive in some cases, people would say that still, but that part of me will never change. I'm just more aware of it now, so I can sort of intervene when I'm more conscious of the conversation. But unfortunately, or fortunately, for better or worse, I will never change the bluntness of myself. But anyway, she wasn't really my friend at the time, but someone else who was there. She knew exactly what I was going through, and she said he doesn't want to because he doesn't like sharing clothes with people. And I thought to myself, you don't know me, how did you know that? And she said she understands because she's the same or something like that. But that's how I feel with personal space. I don't like people touching me, I don't like their clothes being worn by me. Now, if I have no other clothing, I will wear it. I'm not gonna complain. I mean, I might complain, but I will do it because I understand that's the circumstances, right? But that's just who I am. So I was annoyed when this being it was right in my face. Now, the being itself, the reason I would call it an alien is because it looked exactly like aliens are described today. And that's like the big head, bald, grayish, greenish skin. That's coming from a colorblind person, so it looks however you call grayish, greenish, but to me it looked grayish. And its skin was sort of dry. It wasn't scaly, it was just dry and skinny limbs, huge head. The eyes, however, so aliens, when they're drawn and depicted, their eyes tend to be big and black, jet black and whatnot. This alien, well, this being, this entity's eyes were small, almost squinted even. And I would even say it was squinted actually, because when it was looking at me, at first it didn't notice I could see it. It was looking at me with curiosity. At least what I believe the expression was. It looked extremely curious. It was examining my face, I suppose, or my head or something. And then I said, move. And its eyes opened wide. It was stunned, like it got, I don't think it got scared at that moment, it just got surprised. And then I said, now. And it got the look on its face, the terror in its eyes, it made me feel bad. Now, you might be wondering, well, why was it so scared? I am too, but I think I need to give you some more context. When I said move now, the voice that spoke wasn't the voice speaking to you now. It was the much deeper voice that you heard about earlier. That's why I brought it up. And, well, at least I assume it was, but it was as deep as that, if not deeper. That couldn't have been my voice. At least, not my body's voice. The alien, I'm just gonna call it that from now on, the alien looked very, very terrified. And it immediately, from when I said move, its eyes opened and it looked surprised, and then when I said now, it got scared and jumped back up to my desk. I wish you could see it right now, but like my desk is a couple of, from where I was lying down, I'm kind of looking back at the area because my blanket is on the floor now, But from where I was lying down, I guess you could say the desk is like, I don't know, a few meters? I'm bad at math. Blame the high school I went to. But anyway, it's a distance away. So it just leaped from there onto the desk. But it didn't touch the desk. It was as though it was floating. And then it faded through my bedroom wall. And that was the last I saw it, at least until now. I don't know what will happen anyway. But back to the thing that, a few things to note. This isn't uncommon to me. I've experienced things like this many times where I would wake up, see things in my room, experience talking to them, hearing them say things, like the one time I kicked it and it said ow. Like, what? Wait, did I even tell you guys about that? I don't think I ever did tell you about that, did I? That's a whole, I feel like I'll put that in a different episode. But there was this like tall lady, this old looking lady standing above, not above me, but to the side of me. When I woke up, I didn't even see her at first. It's only when I turned there I saw her, and I kicked her by mistake, and she said, ow. And her voice was as clear as day. Now, what's really wild about that? I just said I would keep it for a different episode. Do I still have the hair? Where did I put that? Okay, I just brought it up, so I'm gonna just go through and say it. I'm not gonna go in depth though. So, I felt the kick. I heard the voice. I saw the being. I knew it was there. What sold it for me is that I found a piece of hair that is way straighter than my hair, that looked just like her hair, on my blanket where she was. And I picked it up and I put it in this small bag, and I put it like one of those, you know, those bags where you get your earphone, the earbuds, the spare earbuds, like those clear bags that clip on and off kind of thing. I put it in one of those, and I put it somewhere in my room, and I said to myself, before I die, I'm gonna get this checked out by some, I don't even know where you would carry it, by like a scientist or something. I'm quite ignorant in that forensics field or whatever it's called, but anyway, great, I'm very much off track. I was saying I'm accustomed to these situations where I would wake up and see things, or even not be sleeping and see things like this. But this time was different. Every time I wake up and see these things, my heart would race. I wouldn't be scared. I would be surprised. Because you go to sleep, you lock your door, you close, you sleep alone. I don't have like anyone sleeping with, well, apparently I do, but I don't have any humans sleeping in here with me. So it's shocking every time I wake up and see these things, but this time there was none of that. My heart rate was fine. I was conscious of everything like that. My heart rate was fine. I was more pissed off than anything because it was so close to me. And then to tell it to move now in that deep voice, like the deepest I can go, let's see, I can't even do it properly now, but like, move now kind of thing. That sounded so cringy. But the point is, it was way deeper than that. Like, I would have to use a voice editing program to get as deep as my voice got then. The other thing to note is that when I spoke, my voice was, you know that feeling, the vibration that comes out every time you speak? You know, in your throat, you get this sort of feeling when you speak. None of that happened. It felt as though my mouth moved, which it did. I said the words. I felt my lips touching each other and my teeth and whatnot. But the voice that came out didn't come from my throat. I have no idea where it came from because I didn't feel the vibrations, but I heard it clear as day. So, and well, clearly the alien or whatever heard it as well. I told one of my friends about this. We were on a call. His name is Nick Benson. You can check out his YouTube channel at Nick Benson. I think I'll have it in the description. But he and I were on a Discord call, and he had his friends there as well. And one of his friends mentioned that when I described the story, that it might have been telepathic, and I just moved my mouth out of, wanting to say it, but I ended up saying it telepathically to the being instead. It was an interesting theory, except I didn't think I was telepathic, so I don't know. But you could assume that everyone is telepathic. It's just that we have to sort of unlock that ability or be more aware of it. I don't know. This has me a bit stumped because of all of those reasons. So yeah, I was kind of stressed out after this. Again, I don't get scared when these things happen. I get more surprised and I would feel my heart racing. I would start to sweat a little bit. None of that happened, and that freaked me out. Like, I didn't get scared from the experience. I got scared from the aftermath of it. Thinking about the fact that I scared this being. This entity was afraid of me instead of the other way around. That scared me. It made me think, what am I that I could scare this being like that? What is this voice? Now, what's really interesting is that I didn't even think about the deep voice thing at the time. The reason I thought of it, I get to plug my book here. So the reason I thought of the deeper voice and tied it to that experience way back when was because of two things. One, I'm writing this book. It's called, well, the name can change, but currently it's called Desert of the Dreaming Stranger, and it's taking all of these dreams and experiences and visions and all of these things from my dream diaries and putting them into a book to publish and sell to everyone that is interested, get it out there. Like, a podcast is one thing, but I can get more details into a book when I have more time to think about it. Like, this podcast isn't scripted. Yes, I have my talking points noted so that I don't go so off topic that I end up talking about anime or something instead of the actual topic, but it's not scripted. So the book would actually have the details and everything. Now, it has the dates written, it has my thoughts on the dreams and after dreams and experiences down. When I was writing, that day I wrote the story, not that day, sorry, the day that I remembered it, I was writing the time when I had the sleepwalking, sleep paralysis experience with a deeper voice, and I was like, wait, something like this happened recently with a deep voice. I remember this. And then I put two and two together. So I told one of my friends about it, and she told me, Mason, you need to watch, what was this? Moon Knight. And I said, I don't like the new Disney Marvel shows. She said, Mason, you need to watch Moon Knight. She wasn't the first person to tell me that when I told them the experiences I had. Nika Benson also told me that, I think 1 or 2 times, that I should watch Moon Knight. And also Doctor Strange, which I did watch, Doctor Strange, and I loved it. Although I think the execution could have been a bit better. But that's irrelevant. I'm getting off topic. This is not a critic video. The point is, my friends told me I should watch it. So I asked her, I'm not going to call her name in this, but she told me the experience with the walking around in my room, the deeper voice, talking to my body, all of that happened in Moon Knight, exactly as I described. And I was like, really? And she said, yeah. And then what's really funny is the same day, so for a few years now, I've been telling people I need to go to Egypt. Something tells me something in Egypt is very important and I need to go there. Be it something in the pyramids, be it something about the place itself. There's something calling me to go to Egypt. So that didn't just come out in the conversation. We were talking about Persona. We both like Persona, she and I. And I can't remember which one of us, but we did a quiz. We both did a quiz about which Persona Arcana we are. And I, of course, got the Fool, because apparently that's what we get. And then she said, I can't remember what she got, though. I think it was Chariot or something like that. But anyway, I got the Fool, and then I mentioned something about, yeah, it's no surprise. And then Egypt came up right after that. For some reason, I said that I need to go to Egypt, and she said, Mason, you need to watch Moon Knight. And I said, wait, is there stuff to do with Egypt in it? And she was like, the whole show takes place in Egypt. So, the reason Egypt came up was because I have this. So I haven't told many people this. I don't even know if I should put it on the podcast. I think I will at this point. I'm not. I'm taking a chance. Those of you who hear it were meant to hear it, and those of you who don't hear it weren't meant to hear it. I'll leave it at that. Now, my brother and I. Okay, one day my brother walks into the living room and he sees my chest because I would be bareback at home. And he says, "Oh, you have one of those too." And I'm like, "What do you mean? One of what? A chest?" Yeah, I would assume so. I didn't actually say that, but my mind went there. But anyway, he pointed at the mark. I have this mark on my chest that's shaped sort of like a crescent moon. And it's not a perfect moon, but it is clearly visible, and it is... My mom said at least that it was there since I was born. I can't tell if it was because I wasn't aware of it. But it's been there for years. I've just glossed over it. He said that he has one too. So I see he shows me his chest as well. And he has the exact same mark on his chest, except it's reversed from mine. Like, we're both in opposite directions. It's as though we complete each other's crescent moon or whatever. Isn't that odd? So then I tell my friend about it. Speaking of Moon Knight, that is. I told her, well, we have like this. And she said, Mason, you need to watch Moon Knight. So you know what? I caved in and I watched the first episode that day. And it kind of blew my mind how many experiences I had that were tied into this episode. From the waking up and walking around in circles to the... It was just... What? Even the deep voice is a huge part of that show. And the Egypt gods, which is my favorite type of mythology. I've always been interested in Egyptian mythology, be it because of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a card game and an anime. More so an anime I was into since I was a child. It was a huge part of my life, and I guess that's what introduced me to Egyptian mythology. But it was one of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Movies in particular that made me think, I like Egyptian mythology, I'm gonna look it up. But for years now, I've just known I had to go to Egypt, and even that is a big thing in the show. Granted, I stopped watching it. I got kind of bored with it, to be honest. Like, it was kind of cool at first with the similarities, but the show itself, I don't know, I just kind of got bored. But anyway, the point is, she brought up Moon Knight, he brought it up, and there were a lot of similarities. And again, this is before I've even watched it, that I've had these experiences. So, yeah. So, getting back on the topic of sleep paralysis for a second. Now, in Moon Knight, I don't want to spoil anything, but in Moon Knight, his situation, the main character, I can't remember his name right now, seems to be that he just has split personalities. I am not aware of that. No one seems to be aware of that. There hasn't been any situation where I've woken up in a different room or anything. The closest thing to that was when I woke up walking in my own room. I haven't woken up in Egypt, which happened in the show. So I don't know exactly if that's the case. I'm not aware of having another personality in the sense of I can't remember the term for it, but different multiple personality disorder or something like that. But anyway, I had this dream. Man, I said I would end this podcast episode in like 40 minutes. It's a bit longer, but anyway, I had this dream a couple of years ago, I would say. And I'm gonna just skip over the dream itself. It has to do with sleep paralysis. In the dream, though, there was this enormous red planet coming towards us, a group of us, and on the planet there was a bunch of technology and tubes, cables, and all of that type of stuff. Now, when I woke up from the dream, I felt the reason I woke up because I was floating towards the planet, and then I felt this thing on my foot. I woke up and saw this. Well, I felt a knife or a sword go through the palm of my foot. The palm of my foot? What do you call that, actually? Wow. I'm exhibiting true biologist characteristics here. Under my foot, the heel? I can't remember right now. Thinking is hard right now because I'm so into the conversation. But anyway. I felt something stab under my foot. It wasn't painful, but it was definitely a stabbing feeling. And it started to feel as though I was going to get sleep paralysis. I don't know how I would explain it other than from my foot going up, started to feel pins and needles and then numbness. And I knew I was going to have sleep paralysis and I broke out of it immediately. That is also written in the book as well, but I'm not going to go looking for that to read the dream now because I wanted to end this episode earlier than an hour long. But, yeah, I don't know exactly what to call the first experience I mentioned. Sleep paralysis, sleepwalking. So, in the book, this is one thing I actually have open because I thought it was interesting coming up with my own terms. But, so, I call it spectral paralysis. I don't know if there's a term for it out there now where you wake up during what seems to be sleepwalking, but you're continuing a conversation with a being and you continue walking while you're out of control of your body while waking up. So I call it spectral paralysis. The reason why is because if you take spectral, like a ghost, because, you know, ghosts, spirits possess people, things like that. And then you take the paralysis, so that's the trance part, which is like, I was kind of in a trance, walking around in a circle, talking to this being. It felt like a trance. And then paralysis, so spectral paralysis. For spectator as well, because I was a spectator in the situation. It felt as though I was kind of like, if I had to describe it in a different way, it's sort of like being in a game and your controller stops working, so you just end up walking around in circles, your character, and you just get stuck watching that until you either get your cable to charge the controller or you get a new controller or whatever, or change the inputs. That's what it felt like, if I had to describe it. So, I have no idea what to think about this situation. My life has been way more, I don't think it's more frequently spiritual, but way more spiritual in a different sense, that I'm seeing these things more. No, that's not what I want to say. I'm interacting with them more. So there was the time when, I think I may have brought this up in a prior episode, but I'll bring it up again anyway. There was a time when I woke up because I felt somebody climbing on my bed. Now, I'm not a heavy sleeper. If I hear sounds, if I hear someone open my door, knock on my door, I would wake up, generally speaking. So, feeling someone climbing on my bed, I would wake up to that. And I did, because I sleep alone. So my guard is always up, which I guess my guard would be up if I slept with somebody too, but I was sleeping alone, my guard was up. I felt someone climb onto my bed, and I turn around immediately and grab at the person, or whatever it was. That was my first instinct. Which is bad, because if I ever did sleep and someone was in my room with me or whatever, and they moved, I might punch them in their face. So, like, I remember this time in, was it X-Men or something? where I think it was the Wolverine movie. He was sleeping with Jean, and she woke him up, and he stabbed her or something like that in the stream. I can't remember, but the point is, I grabbed whatever it was, and I felt it. My hand held on to it as though I was actually grabbing something. So that's how I knew it was there. You know, that space in between? It would be very difficult for your brain to make that up, right? So I held on to it. And I know I keep sounding like I doubt my experiences, and it's because it's not that I doubt them. It's more so that I want to find the truth behind them. I look at all the different explanations I can come up with and decide for myself if it happened the way I think it did, or if it happened a different way, or whatever the case may be. So that's why I look at yes, I think this was a dream. I think this was a hallucination. I have hallucinated before. I've seen a spider in my room many times crawling around with rainbow legs, which I felt was a hallucination. But anyway, I held on to this being, feeling its skin and everything, its dry skin, and it jumped. I felt it jump, and my hand moved with it as it jumped, and then it disappeared. I managed to see part of it, and it was black. It looked the same way as that being from episode 1 with the dream with COVID-19 or whatever virus was in the dream. Except it was way skinnier than that being. That being was buff. Like, it looked like... I said like twice in that sentence. It looked as though it could probably punch you and knock you out in a single hit. This being was very skinny, in comparison at least. But anyway, I held onto it, and it jumped. It was scared. This was the other time that a being was scared of me, actually. Or surprised, I would say, rather than scared. The being that I saw, the alien, was terrified. The look on its face, terrified is the only word I can use to describe it. Scared is not enough. Terrified isn't enough, it's an understatement. It looked as though it saw a demon, which is funny. Some people believe that aliens are fallen angels or demons, right? Think about that theory for a second and consider what would it mean for a fallen angel to be scared of me. What would that mean? What would that say? What was that voice? Who is that voice? What is that voice? Because it's probably not gone. For all I know, when I sleep every night, the reason I wake up drained still is because my body is out doing things, and then it gets back home. Like my window. Dude, what? My window has... I got excited for a moment there, sorry. My window has no... Like, one of my windows has no bars on it anymore because they had to cut it out in case of emergency. So for all I know, I tie bed sheets on to the bookshelf, I guess, and then I climb out my window, go fight crime at night, like moonlight, and then I get back home, and that's why I wake up still feeling tired. That's why my body has been stressed out lately. For all I know, that's actually happening, and this voice saying, "You can call to me next time," as though it happened frequently, or it happened a couple of times. It's just a lot to think about. But anyway, so I hold on to I got really sidetracked again. I hope you guys enjoy this. It's like listening to the inside of my mind, and I'm kind of rusty. You can tell I'm feeling a bit more aware of myself, and I'm not totally into it. I'm getting more into it as I go along. I haven't done an episode in months, so I am rusty. I hope you can bear with that. I promise you the episodes will get more fluent and better as I get back into it more, but for now I just need to get the story out there, and start somewhere, get back into it so that I can get back to where I was. But anyway, the being disappeared. I sat there for a few minutes just thinking about what just happened, and eventually I rubbed my eyes with my hands. Have you ever rubbed your eyes with pepper before? I eat a lot of pepper, and it's happened before. It's terrible, don't do it. But that's how it felt. It stung. And I went into my bathroom, washed off my face and stuff, and I was just laughing. Nowadays, I don't wash my face with my eyes with tap water because it's pretty bad. I've learned that lesson, but just a little side note for you, I guess. But anyway, I washed my face and all that, and all I could do was laugh at the situation. It was funny. You know what? I think I'm gonna turn this into. It's already like 55 minutes long. Oh man. But anyway, while recording, I was using this program called Crisp, and it lets me get rid of the noise in my background. Unfortunately, my free trial thing ran out while recording, so there may have been a portion of the podcast that got a bit weird in sound. Hopefully it isn't distracting. Hopefully it didn't take out anything important from the episode. I am hoping. I do not edit my episodes other than putting sound effects and all of that. So I'm gonna keep it as is. If I have to record the entire thing over, it's gonna suck. But I'll do it. 'Cause dedication, right? But anyway. There was this other time I woke up and I saw that I was sleeping on my bed this time. Oh, the time before, yeah, I said I was sleeping on the bed. So this time I was sleeping on the bed again, and I woke up. It was still dark, and I look around my room. I do that naturally every time now because sometimes I would wake up and the thing would be in front of me, but sometimes it will be somewhere else, and I have to actually find it. So I woke up. I looked around my room, and I see in the corner next to my I have a skateboard that I hung on my wall. So next to there's this entity partially in my wall, partially like it was as though it was coming into the wall, into the bedroom through the wall. And then it sees me. I look at it. It looks at me. It looks kind of like a clown. You know the way they have like the big nose and all that? It looks like that. Except the nose was actually like that. It wasn't a fake nose. Well, but I assume it wasn't a fake nose. I don't know if they have clowns in the spirit realm or whatever. But, I mean, I guess everyone needs entertainment. Wait, does heaven have clowns? If heaven exists? And if hell exists, do they have, like... Does heaven have entertainment? If you go to heaven... I was talking about this with one of my friends recently, and if you go to heaven, there's this theory that you lose your memories. But if your memories make you who you are, then you don't actually go to heaven. You don't. You might have the same perspective of the person who went to heaven, who died before they went to heaven, but you aren't going to heaven if you lose your memories. So I guess the term "you only live once" actually makes sense to some extent. Some people claim that they've lived many lives before and have evidence of it, so they remember that. But why don't other people remember that as well, their past lives? Interesting. And it's interesting how much I get off topic. I can't even remember. Oh right, the clown thing. So I looked at the thing, and I was the entity, and it looked at me kind of stunned for a second, probably because I could see it. They always seem to get surprised when you see them. And then I waved at it. The first thing I thought to do was just see if I can interact with it, experiment, because why just lie there and look at it, you know? Experiment. So I waved at it, and then its expression went from being stunned to a laugh, like a sort of playful laugh, smile type of thing. And then it waved back way more frantically than I did. It was excited, as if I gave it a lollipop or something, and then it waved and went outside my wall. The things I explain happening on this podcast, I swear. Like, some of you probably think I make it up. I don't, but I can't blame you either, because I would think the same to some extent, depending on who I was. I would probably be like, nah, there's no way that happened. I can't prove it unless I put cameras in my room. Maybe I should do that. My friend Nico Benson suggested that sometime, but I just can't afford to do that right now. I think I would also feel uncomfortable sleeping with a camera watching me as I sleep, but I think I'll do that as an experiment sometime. Even if it's for like 1 month, every night I'll put a camera in my room and I just put a camera in my room. I see myself, like my body floating. It gets up. I sleepwalk. I start playing like a drum kit or something, and I just go back to sleep like nothing happened. I just start like cross-dressing and stuff, and then I quickly fix my body back how it was, and then I go back to sleep. Wait, that is a thing though. Like, what if I just... That still wouldn't prove my point, because I could just pretend that I'm doing those things on camera. So it wouldn't be... well, let's assume that the reason I'm doing it isn't to show my body doing things, but it's to show things interacting with my body. So like you might see my bed sheet move without me moving it or something like that, you know? That could be interesting. I think I will do that someday. But not right now. Right now I'm going to focus on my books. Well, my book and whatnot. I've left you all with a lot to think about. There's a lot more that I can say about this right now. I'm contemplating ending the episode here because, again, I have to get back into editing and all of these things just to get where I was in terms of quality, because I don't want to give you guys something that's half-baked, you know? So I need to work on that, and it's going to take some time. I don't even think this episode is going to be out today. I think for now, yeah, I'll probably leave it at that. The last thing I will ask you is, well, this is gonna stem into a whole other conversation, I can see it already. The being that I saw, not the clown one and all that, the alien one, or the one that saw me first, I guess. Was it an alien? Was it a fallen angel? Was it what was it exactly? Let's assume it was actually there. Let's assume that my mind didn't make it up or whatever, right? Because I know a few of you would think that, and I can't blame you again. But let's just give me the benefit of the doubt, say it actually did happen, right? What was it? What was it exactly? Was it the look on... Remember, the look on its face before it was scared of me was curiosity. It was as though it's never seen something like... Well, apparently my face, I don't know if it was odd to it or something, but it looked very curious. And, well, I say it was examining my face, it looked as though, because it was right up in my face, uncomfortably so. Which is another odd thing. That's the first time I've had an experience like that where an entity that I've encountered while waking up has been so close to my face. Usually they keep distance. This one was way too close. Anyway. Oh no, I have to wash clothes and stuff. I actually forgot. Okay, I really need to end the episode then. Before I do that, I want to say thanks one more time to all of you who listen, who take the time to actually genuinely listen to what I say. And I don't mean every single word. Some things will stick, some things won't. That's just how it is. But I truly appreciate that. And for those of you who leave feedback, please continue to do so. And don't just praise me and all that. Don't praise the podcast. Give as genuine feedback as you can. Things to help it improve, you know? Things that you would like to see, things that you would not like. And I'm not saying that I'm going to conform to your desires. I am saying that I would consider it in case I also agree or not, you know? So I appreciate all feedback. And if you would like to, if you have some story to share, try to reach out to me and I can have you as a guest on one of the episodes in the future. I would love to have episodes where I just let the guests describe their experiences and see if there's anything I can compare to my life that's similar, and we kind of go back and forth comparing things, showing the differences in our experiences and what we think. Things like that would be interesting. I could just talk to myself, that's fun too, but it's nice to get input from people live, Speaking of input, I would love to hear what you all think about everything I've described so far in the comments below, if you can. You don't have to put it in like details like a novel or something, but I would appreciate if you just say, what do you think? What do you think the alien thing was? Was it an alien? Was it a hallucination? Given the benefit of the doubt, if it wasn't a hallucination, then what do you think it was? Was it a demon? An angel? Well, I find it hard to believe that a demon or an angel would be scared of me just for saying move now, but again, the voice what do you think the voice is? That's a more pressing question, I think. Can't believe I forgot about that. That is probably the one thing. And what do you think actually happened the day that I woke up, seeing my body walking around, and just goes and sits? The funny thing is, it didn't even lie down on the bed. It sat on the bed. Now that I think about it. Like, if you wanted me to think I was dreaming, did they know I was awake? No, they had to know, because you wouldn't put me sitting on the bed, right? They had to know I was, imagine waking up sitting on the bed instead of waking up lying down when you lie down before. It would be weird. So it knew I was up and just quickly put me on the bed to make me think, like question myself or something like that. Or it ran out of time to control my body. I don't know. I haven't tried communicating with my body. It's so weird to say that. Like, what does it even mean? Also, was it possession? Because I don't like the idea of thinking something is in my body. I already don't like the idea of something touching me. Far less the idea of something in my body, other than myself. But then I have to ask myself, what is myself? And is my consciousness even in my body? We assume our minds are in our body, our thought, our consciousness. But is it really? When you hear your voice in your head, that is not your consciousness. That is the expression of your consciousness through sound in your mind, or whatever term you want to use. It is not the consciousness itself. That's like saying, if I draw a painting, the painting is me. It is not me. It is an extension of myself. Where does that consciousness come from? There's this thing that I used to do a lot, and I still do it now, but for fun and experimenting, but back then I used to do it because of paranoia. I was paranoid that everyone, or some people, could read my mind, basically, hear my thoughts, my expressions, anything I say in my mind. So what I would do is try to think on a deeper level. And what that means is, when you think by hearing the voice in your head, generally speaking, or seeing images. What I would do to start myself off would be, I would say the word the, and then I would already know what I'm going to say or think. I wouldn't say the word, I would think the word out loud, the, and I would know what I'm going to think forward to that, and I would not complete the sentence in my mind. I would leave it as that. So there would be no voice saying the rest of the sentence out loud in my head. The sentence would be, the cow jumped over the moon. I would know I was going to say that, but I would not finish the sentence. So it's kind of like thinking ahead of my own thoughts, if that makes any sense at all. So I would do that a lot. And I still do it for experimental purposes right now. There's this other instance that, oh my gosh, this episode is way longer than it should be. But it's so interesting, this stuff is really intriguing to me. There's this instance where I was left home with my baby sister. I had to babysit her. Oh, that rhymes. Baby sister, babysit her. That's kind of cool. But anyway, I had to babysit her, and I was watching her in the living room or whatever. I see this box, this Amazon package box, with a couple of numbers. Oh, I just happened to look at the time right now, and it's 1:11 p.m. exactly. That's happening a lot lately. I haven't checked the time in a while. And I just happened to check the time, and it's 1:11 p.m. exactly. I love angel numbers. They just happen so frequently for me now. But anyway. Hopefully that didn't cut out what I said, because my PC just glitched out on me. So I'm gonna repeat what I said just in case. Because again, I don't edit this. Whatever happens, if I mess up, if I mess up so badly on the podcast, I will not edit it. I would start over. It's to help me realize that nothing has to be perfect. I say suffer because I think it's a curse more than a a blessing. I suffer from perfectionism when it comes to certain things. Like, if I am playing a card game, I would deck build to make it the most competitive I can with my resources. But I also like creativity, and those two don't tend to meld well, at least for a certain point, right? So if there are 10 cards that need to be played to keep up with standard, I would have to put those cards in my deck, which would take out 10 slots in the deck where I could put creative ideas in. Okay, it definitely glitched out, and I saw why it happened as well. It said that my PC, the processing space wasn't enough. Oh no, it's raining now, and I don't have crisp. Oh no. Alright, these are all signs that I'm getting that I should end the episode before it gets too long. So I'm gonna do that now. Again, thank you so much for listening. I don't know who made it this far, but if you did, I appreciate you all the same as the people who didn't make it this far. But thank you again. Also, I just want to shout out every single episode I am shouting out someone, some group, some entity, some creator, something that I'm either friends with or I saw online. One of my friends, in this case, she created, I guess I have it up for the episode, or for part of it at least. So she created her own version of the podcast artwork, and her name is Sukikusho0 on Instagram. So you can go ahead and give her a follow or check out her account, see if you like her stuff. I'm not forcing you to, but it would mean a lot if you do check it out. And yeah, give her a few likes, check out her artwork. She has been painting and drawing for a couple of years now, but she wanted to do school and couldn't. It was a long story, but her art is proof that you don't have to go to school to get good at painting or drawing or whatever. You don't have to. You can create whatever you want whenever you want. Just don't worry about the specifics. I don't even know what I'm doing on this podcast thing. I just do. I only listened to like 3 different podcasts in my life, and I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm having fun with it now. At first I was kind of nervous and just sort of all over the place, but now I'm getting back into it slowly but surely. Anyway, check out her stuff, Sukikusho0 on Instagram. I'll have a link in the description below. And also, if you want to check out my stuff, you can do so. I'll have a link as well. My link tree will be in the description below. I will keep you guys updated on the book. It is completed. I am doing editing, and it's not completed then, but I'm doing editing and whatnot, which is taking a while, but it is worth it. I had to do a lot of art commissions to get the funds I need to purchase the program I wanted to use. It's called Atticus. It's a pretty good program, but it's like $175 US. It took me a while to save up, but I got it, and I am working. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. Is there anything else I need to... No, that sounds like about it. So if you have any experiences, again, that you want to share, you want to get in public, you want anything at all, try to get in contact with me. You can comment down below and we'll start talking about it, or follow me on Instagram and message me. That's probably the fastest way to reach me, other than my WhatsApp, but I don't give my number out to the public. So Link will be in the description below if you want to reach me. Or ask me any questions at all, anything. Comment section below is probably the better place then in that case. But alright guys, thanks for listening. I am going to do stuff that I have to do. And probably find food because I'm really hungry. Thanks again for listening. I know I said that a lot, but I really do mean it. And again, any questions or anything like that, feel free to comment below and any feedback. Alright, I'll see you guys on the next episode.